George, we thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Can you remember the last time that you were top of the charts, as you are at the moment, in Australia?
No, haven't got a clue. Probably 1968 or 9 or maybe 70 something. I don't know.
Well, we went checking.
You tell me.
All right, we went checking. All those years was number 9 in Australia back in 1981. But My Sweet Lord was the last number 1 hit that you had in Australia. That was back in, I hate to say it, but back in 1970.
Oh, yeah. I remember it well.
Do you feel that old? That's 18 years ago.
Yeah, no, I don't feel old at all, actually. I'm getting younger by the minute.
Getting younger and better, eh?
Yeah.
George, you've spent so much time out of the limelight. Why the decision to return?
Well, it's not really that big a deal, actually, because, you know, through the years I hadn't had a record out. I was still doing films stuff with this company I have called Handmade Films. So I was still very busy. I did soundtracks to movies, and I played on other people's records. I just didn't have my own solo album out. So, you know, it's with the solo album that I got much more higher profile, you know, obviously, here live from Los Angeles. But the decision to do it was really based upon the fact that I felt good about it, and I'd made the decision to work with another producer, and it was just a question of time of finding who would be the right person for me to work with.
Well, we can, with wonderful hindsight now, we can actually say that the Cloud 9, the new album, is doing wonderfully well, as I say, with singles number 1 in Australia, apart from the album selling well. But was there some fear after 5 years that you hadn't put a single album out that this one could bomb?
No, not really. I've had so many bombs, it doesn't matter anymore.
We have to say, borrowing one of your lines anyway, but you did it with a little help from your friends, with Ringo, with Jeff Lynne from ELO, with Elton John, with Eric Clapton, etc. Did that make it easier for you?
Yeah, mainly Jeff Lynne, because Jeff was, you know, I spent a lot of time getting to know Jeff, and I thought he'd be ideal to work with, and as it happened, it turned out very good. And, you know, he's an excellent record producer, and also as a songwriter and a performer himself. So the help from the musicians, you know, I've always had help from my friends as musicians, but the main input really that helped me this time was in the production side, because it's a bit tiring doing everything yourself, you know, and I think the input, which is what I've been missing over the last few albums, I got it with Jeff Lynne.
Who was from Electric Light Orchestra, of course, in the old days, and a sound that was somewhat like the Beatles, but also with Ringo Starr there. I mean, is it really like riding a bicycle, that you just get back together and it works?
It is, actually. With Ringo, there's certain songs with Ringo that, you know, I don't have to tell him what to play. I just play him the song, and he just picks up his sticks and he just does it, you know.
Listening to the album, though, it sounds like it's got that feeling about it of being a jam session. A bunch of musos get together and just play good music.
Well, another reason why I like Jeff Lynne was because there's a lot of certain things that I don't like about, you know, pop music. I'm sure most people don't like everything, but Jeff and I fitted together good. You know, we both have a dislike for certain clattery sounds and stuff like that. And I wanted to try and get it so it wasn't so much like a computer record that didn't have any human feel to it, you know. So that's why we did those drum tracks originally with a guy called Jim Keltner and with Ringo. And we tried to get it so we had a feel, so it was a bit more like you'd do it in the late 60s or early 70s, but at the same time, these days people are so into computer timing that to have a live drumming, you know, that does make it difficult, because people won't accept anything less now than perfect time. So that was the only aspect about having live drumming, you know, that we had to watch out for. But I think we got best of both worlds, really.
Was it fun, George? Again, one hears the way records are produced these days, and the 24 tracks and overlays and all sorts of things, and being produced over a matter of month after month. I mean, can it be spontaneous fun, or is it really just electronic?
Well, it depends on how you go about it. As I say, I enjoyed this album totally from long before we went in the studio, you know, just writing tunes with Jeff. I did a couple, actually, the next single that's coming out down there, which is called When We Was Fab, I wrote it in Australia, or at least I started it with Jeff Lynne, and that was the one song on the album which I think has got the most of the combination of him and myself, you know, together, that we both enjoyed doing that one.
Well, you've set it up, George. In fact, we've got, I think the first time that video single is released today around the world, and if it's not the first time it's been seen anywhere in the world, it's certainly the first time it's been seen in Australia. Let's have a look at that, and we'll come back and talk to George about the Beatles days.
Back then, long time ago, when grass was green, woke up in a daze, arrived like strangers in the night. Long time ago, when we were fun, back when income tax was all we had, caresses fleeced you in the morning light, casualties at dawn, and we did it all.
George, I've got to say that I guess it should be no surprise that that sounds like the Beatles, but it's a bit eerie to me. Is it a bit eerie to you?
Well, not really, because that's what I set out specifically, to write a tune that brought back all the sounds, or some of the sounds at least, of like that 1967, 68 kind of thing. Actually, you missed the best part on the video, though, you know.
Did we?
You can show the end later, you know, where I go through the wall on my bicycle. With the tomato ketchup all over me.
Are you more relaxed? I read that you're more relaxed about those years now, that you can look back a little more comfortably now. You're not relaxed.
Yeah, no, I am. You know, we went through so much, as everybody knows the history of the Beatles by now, you know, I don't have to tell them, but, you know, it was tense at times, you know, in the late 60s, and then we were hounded a lot, and then we hounded ourselves for the 10 years following, and it's sort of that space between all those years and all the problems have made it, I don't know, I just remember the good things, and I think together, I'm more together myself as a person. I enjoy my life really well, and I can just see all the fun side of it, you know? Otherwise, I couldn't have written a song like that.